Welcome to California Unearthed. Today we are walking amongst the sycamore, eucalyptus, and pepper trees here in beautiful historic downtown Tustin. We'll give you a brief history of the city along with doing the walking tour. If you want to do this walking tour yourself, you can pick up a copy of this at the Tustin Historical Society right behind me on El Camino Real and Main Street. So let's dive into the history of this. Tustin was founded in 1868 by Columbus Tustin. He was born in 1826 in Philadelphia, moved around a little bit as a child, but ended up in Petaluma, California, where he actually helped design part of Petaluma, which was really, really cool. While in Petaluma, he decided to try his hand at gold panning when the California gold rush hit in 1849, but didn't do as well, so he went to doing carriage making with a gentleman by the name of Nelson Stanford. Him and Nelson Stanford ended up coming to Southern California for a real estate venture where they purchased a little over 1,300 acres of the old Ranchero Santiago de Santa Ana. Out of that 1,300 acres, Columbus Tustin received about 840 acres. Of that 840 acres, he took 100 acres of that to create this downtown Tustin area. From 1868 to 1872, he designed and created downtown Tustin, which at that time was called Tustin City. He also developed the school and post office, where he was a postmaster. In 1877, he was in competition with William Spurgeon in Santa Ana for the terminus of the Southern Pacific Railroad coming from Anaheim, but unfortunately he lost out on that. The train depot went to Santa Ana, and Santa Ana became a big city where Tustin remained a small town. Tustin was not incorporated until 1927, some 60 years after it was founded in 1868. But what I found really cool about what Tustin did here in downtown was that he was selling off lots, and a lot of people were buying small agricultural lots of 5 to 20 acres. And he was trying to sell off the smaller lots right here in downtown and wasn't having a whole lot of luck. So he started to give away lots. As long as you built a home on the property, he would give you the lot here in downtown. And I thought that was kind of a really cool way to get people into Tustin. So obviously the boom of 1880, population boom, Tustin grew agriculturally, and that is what this area is, an agricultural. They grew walnuts, apricots, and then once the oranges came in, navel oranges reigned supreme over Orange County. Today, Tustin is still a small town, has that small town feel. So losing that railroad terminus maybe wasn't such a bad thing after all. It is one of very few cities here in Orange County that has that small town feel left to it. So let's do a walk around and do the walking tour. Check out Tustin. Come join me. Here's the man himself, Columbus Tustin. This is on the corner of El Camino Real and Main Street. I'll leave this right here real quick. Maybe you guys can read that. Or at least hopefully you can. One of the coolest parts of downtown Tustin here is the street that we are on. We are on El Camino Real. If you know your California history, you know exactly what road we're on. We are on the Kings Highway, Royal Road. That is a 600-mile road that went from the San Diego Mission to the mission in San Francisco, Solano, and Sonoma. The missions were 30 miles apart. There's 21 missions that connected that 600-mile road, and the 30-mile trip in between was a long one-day ride on a horse. But this road right here was part of that 600-mile trek from San Diego up to San Francisco, or Sonoma to be exact. So this is really cool part of California history right here. And I'm standing next to a mission bell. These were put in around 1906. This one, I believe, it was 1970. There's a plaque right here that tells us. But these mission bells were put in by El Camino Real Association in honor of the King's Highway. And we'll get a shot of this plaque exactly to tell you what it says here. So like I said, this is probably one of my favorite parts of downtown. I absolutely love the idea that El Camino Real runs through here. But what we can also see from here, we're right across the street from the Tustin Historical Society. This is where you can pick up your walking tour brochure. I got to do a huge shout out to the Historical Society. There were a lot of help in researching this video and researching this project. Thank you guys very, very much. I am in front of the Tustin Museum here on El Camino Real. We're going to go inside and check this out and see what they have in there. A lot of great history here in downtown Tustin. Let's go check it out. There's one of the El Camino Real mission bells. Well, there's the man himself, Columbus Tustin. Good sized museum. This is pretty neat. Looks like an old switchboard, if I am correct. Old typewriter for those of you who do not know what this is. Predates the old computer there. This was this is a washing machine and dryer. My great-grandmother used to have one of these in the garage. I've pinched my fingers in there many, many times. Check that phone out. Wow. Full-size fire truck in here.
Yeah, that's a lot. I have, where I was born, not born, I was born in King Village. I grew up right there. And then this right here is my grandfather's property. Now my dad is building a road. I grew up there. It's on the photo, but it's not there anymore. They tore it down, raised the houses, and they did everything else.
So when you come to Tustin, definitely stop in here at the Tustin Historical Society and Museum. Great place to come visit. I could spend hours in here, but I'm gonna get walking. We got a walking tour to go do. This is the walking tour map with all the information. This is what I'm going off of, but I will not be giving you all the information on here, just hitting the highlights due to there are 35 businesses and homes on here, so this is going to take a little bit. And I did not photograph every plaque on every building because a lot of these are private residents, and I did not want to disturb the residents in their homes. This is the beginning of the historic walking tour. This is the Civic Center. The building was built with all indigenous material. And the town of Tustin goes from Lion Street to Newport Avenue. And we are not too far from Newport Avenue right now, just about a half a block. This is a more modern building. This is the Tustin Library. This is the Saddleback Chapel, the first mortuary here in Tustin. This is built on an original orange grove planted by Sam Tustin, the son of Columbus Tustin. We're on Main Street. On the corner of Prospect and Main Street. And this is the Tustin Waterworks. The original waterworks facilities no longer exist, but it was established in 1887. On the corner of Prospect and Main Street, this is the site of the Juice Company. This is not the original building. The original buildings are no longer. They were demolished in 2007. The Juice Company operated from 1922 to 1973. And from 1973 until 2006, the buildings were vacant. On Main Street, this is the McCoy building. So in 1880, this is not the original location. This was moved in 1924. The original location was on the southeast corner of El Camino Real and Main Street. Just down the street right here. So they didn't move it very far. This was a pool hall, a drugstore, meat market. There's multiple different businesses throughout the years. I love the size of that tree right in front. That's awesome. Building here on the corner of El Camino Real and Main Street. This used to be the Rexall drugstore. For those of you old enough to remember Rexall drugs, this was it. This is the Cox building, built in 1924 by Ed Kaiser and Sam Tustin. Later on, bought by the Cox family. It was a Tustin food center for 30 years. They have a small museum in there and a few articles of agricultural equipment in the back that we'll go take a look at. But this is at night, all lit up. And this is on the corner of El Camino Real and Main Street as well. We are here at the Cox Marketplace on El Camino Real. This is a homage to the agricultural history here in Tustin. Phil Cox has set up a nice little museum with a little farm equipment outside. So we're gonna go around and check this out. This is on the corner of Main and El Camino Real. And this is 1947 agricultural Caterpillar that was just moved here on May 6, 2021. He has a little stand up there that the kids can climb up on this. A sign explaining it. That's really cool. Old fire hydrant. It's not hooked up to anything, but alright, let's walk around and see what else we can find out here in Cox Marketplace. Over here in the corner, an old tractor. And like I said, this is an homage to the agricultural history of Tustin. Tustin is definitely agricultural from the beginning. A lot of orange citrus. And many, many other crops. Let's go into the little museum he's got set up in here. An old plow. Display of irrigation system. All right. That is the old chapel from out in the military base, which used to be the blimp base where the blimps would take off from. The chapel no longer exists. Sorry for the glare. This is the old safe from the bank. The Tustin Historical Society owns this, but they have no room for it, so they have it here. That is a heavy, heavy piece of equipment. Another display here. Irrigation. Movement of water was key in agriculture. This is the side of the old hardware store that still has the signage on it. This is the original hardware store built in 1912 by Ed Utt. You'll hear that name a couple different times throughout this walk. It was for the original owners, Fred Currier and Tustin Alderman. And the side parking lot once was the bank from 1888 to 1963. It was the Bank of Tustin. And the safe that we saw in the Cox building is from that spot right there. A cool story I was just told by the folks at the Historical Society was that back in the 1950s, a gentleman robbed the Tustin Bank here, and the second time he came back to rob it, the manager had placed a gun in the vault. So when he went to put the bank employees in the vault, the manager grabbed the gun, shot the robber. The robber got in his vehicle to flee, but didn't make it very far. Only made it to the corner right here, about a half a block away, crashed, slumped over, and died from his wounds. The authorities left him sitting there for everybody to see. The newspaper came out, took this photograph, and published it in the local paper with an article. This is the Roach building on the corner of El Camino Real and Main Street. This once was the site of the Lysander Utt's Pioneer Store. This building houses a barbershop that has been in business for the last 60 years. Here on El Camino Real, this is the first doctor's office here in Tustin, built in 1880s. The only part of this building that is original is the front. The rest was destroyed by fire. A frock shop in 1930 occupied this building, and in 1958 a dress shop where the teenage girls here in Tustin would buy their prom dresses. A little seating area, a little park area here. We'll find a few of these signs throughout downtown. This is the Jamestown Village Shopping Center. This was built in 1961. A little bit more modern history here. But what I discovered here in the parking lot, though, was kind of cool. You got a little chapel back here. And go check this out. I don't know much about this. Just found it here last night. So if anybody knows anything about this, please put it in the comments down below. And that's kind of cool. Love those windows. Here on El Camino Real, this is the old Tustin garage from 1915 to 2007. So right next to the arts building here is the site of Columbus Tustin's store and upstairs apartment, which no longer exists, but this is the site of it right here. And then next door, this row of stores house the Wells Fargo Express, barbershop, drugstores, a number of different stores among the years, but originally barbershop, drugstore, and Wells Fargo Express, 1914. This is the Arts Building, built by Samuel Tustin for Charles Arts, 1914. This is one of two remaining blacksmith shops in Orange County. This was built in 1912, just off of Main Street. We are at the Tustin School District that Columbus Tustin started. This is the original school bell from 1883. In the background there, you see the blacksmith shop. This is Fanny Tustin's home, which is a California version of an 1880s Vermont salt box. Just down the street from the blacksmith shop and across from the school district. Right next door to Fanny Tustin's home is the McCharles home, built in 1885, who was the township justice here in Tustin. The Spanish-style building, built in 1982, replaced a World War I garage, so it was known as Oscar Elias Garage, World War I era. Across the street, Presbyterian Church. We're gonna go across the street, get a better view of this. This Presbyterian church was originally built in 1882 and revised in 1928. Additions were made in 53 and 66. So from this was originally not a Spanish-style chapel. The Spanish-style chapel came in 1928. The original chapel was a Victorian chapel. This is the Stevens house. Pioneer Sherman Stevens built this home in 1887 out of redwood that came from Eureka, California, some 600 miles north. The office buildings that you see to the left and right once was an avocado grove that was taken out in 1982. This home stayed in the Stevens family until 1980. This home was built in 1881. The roof line used to be shorter. The top portion here was built in 1920 by Benjamin Beswick to house the boarding of teachers. This is called the Hughes House. This house is the Means house. Is principal of Tustin High School that moved here in the 1920s. The house itself was built in 1905. Half of the house is original, the other half is been added onto. Better view of the Means house. This is the corner of A Street and Main Street. Has the iron and brick fencing along the front. This is the Pinky House, built in 1928, a Monterey style home. If you notice in the back, there's a sycamore tree that dates back to Columbus Tustin's days, 1868, or obviously earlier. This is a very nice home. And go over here a little bit, see if we can't see that sycamore a little better. There it is. Here we have two bungalow-style homes. First one is Oscar Leah's home from Leah's Garage, and this one is Charles Art's home from the Mercantile down the street. Both built around 1914. I believe this one's 1915. Bungalow style. This home was built in 1887 for Lorenzo Kendall. It's known as the Snow House. It's had multiple repairs and changes done throughout the years. One notable one is the roof being replaced in 1933 due to an earthquake, but the wraparound porch remains as original. This home is next to the Snow Home, built in 1887 for George Case. The Vance family lived here from 1917 to 1973. It was built out of redwood, much like the home next door, the Snow Home. This house is interesting because this was built by a civil engineer with rocks collected from the Rocky Mountain states, brought here to construct this home. This has been sitting here since 1950. Now, the interesting thing about this house, if you pay attention, I noticed it as we walked by, is the walkway has these same rocks, but also the sidewalk out front. I thought it was a little odd that the sidewalk changed from just concrete to brick and rock, but that makes sense why it does that now. This home is built in 1904, originally on the corner of El Camino Real and Main Street, attached to the Oot building. This was Ed Oot's mother's home, but it was moved here to the corner of Maine and California in 1925. This is a 1930 English Tudor built for Roy Browning, and that's the thing about this downtown Tustin area. There's all sorts of different styles, from Victorian to Spanish to this English Tudor. That's what you gotta love about Southern California, is multi-architectural when it comes to the homes. This is a typical Mediterranean home from the 1920s that you see all over Southern California. I absolutely love this architecture. What's important about this property is these trees off to the left, these sycamore trees. That is what dotted the landscape here in Tustin when Columbus Tustin first came here. It was sycamore trees and mustard fields. So these are very, very important trees here in Tustin. Columbus Tustin actually named the school district after these trees. The sanctuary was built in 1881. Is Tustin's first church that is still in operation today. Many of the pews inside are original, and the little building over to the right of it was built in 1945 from lumber from the hangar base. This is the Lindbergher Cottage. It's a Victorian cottage built for Georgetown in 1888. Banker William Lindbergher and his family have owned it since 1920. This Victorian home was built in 1881 for Nelson Vanderlip, and the home itself is hard to see. There's a lot of trees here in front, but this is not the original location of the home. The home was moved here in 1962 from right across the street, right here. And the reason why it was moved was because they were putting in the freeways in 1960. This once sat on a 20-acre grove on this side of Main Street. I love the iron and brick wall right here, fence. So that concludes the walking tour here in Tustin. I absolutely love these old homes. Like I said before, there's a lot of architecture here. Southern California is known for its multi-architectural designs of homes. I know I didn't give a lot of history of each home, but there's so many here that it would make a really long video. I know that you guys don't want to sit through that, but what I would suggest, like I said earlier, come to Tustin, come to downtown historic Tustin, go to the Historical Society, grab a map for yourself and walk this. It is absolutely beautiful, stunning. So we made it a couple miles down the road to the Santa Ana Cemetery to pay our respects to Columbus Tustin, who passed away 1883. So if you come to the Santa Ana Cemetery and want to pay your respects to the chapel and office, the office is here in the middle of the cemetery. The entrance is right over there. And you go from the office to the first turn, as you see there, until you come across nameplate of Tustin. And this is the man here himself. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this brief history of downtown historic Tustin. I absolutely enjoyed myself. We are outside of the Tustin Historical Society. I gotta give a big shout out to these guys. They're really, really helpful in the research of this video. So if you come down to downtown Tustin, definitely stop by here. See, these guys are really, really helpful. Smash the like button on the video, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next video.